It's
Hi there.
Tuesday. It's not Friday.
No, not yet.
It is not. But we are here. We're live, noon on Tuesday, maybe like 3 minutes after noon, but that's fine. And we have Miss Missy Hoskins with us today. And we are going to talk about cruise planning.
We're going to talk
Yes.
about travel planning.
Yes. All travel.
There's
All
a
travel.
misconception of what Miss Hoskins does, and although I've been on cruises that she's helped me with, which has been fantastic, you do all travel.
I do.
Yeah.
Some of my specialties are Europe land. Hawaii is one of my favorites as well. And I do a lot of Alaska.
Okay.
Yeah, I focus in those areas, the areas I'm most passionate about.
And you do a lot of traveling yourself, so that helps you to be able to, you know, give advice on things to do, places to go, trips
Yes.
and tours to take, and things like that.
Yes, I've always been a travel fanatic, so this is the perfect business for me. I'm a travel fanatic, research queen, and bargain hunter. So it's a good fit for me because I love to find the deals. But I've traveled a lot in my past and current. I've traveled on cruises about 65 times across different cruise lines
Wow.
and traveled to Europe multiple times. I've been to all the islands in the Caribbean, stayed at all inclusives, been to Hawaii, all the islands there, and Alaska as well. So I've done a lot of traveling, and that really helps me guide my clients as well.
Yeah. Just for me, we have a family of 5, and then if we're going on a vacation with any of our family members, as soon as you have one, you have the rest of them. Chris has 3 brothers. I have a sister, and like I said, by the time that we're all together, there's an enormous amount of us all, so it gets very
Yes.
expensive very quick.
Yes.
And one of the trips that I took on a cruise, it was my in-laws' very first cruise, and we were able to take them with us. And it was, I guess, around Christmas time, if I'm not
It
mistaken,
was.
right before Christmas.
Hmm.
And we absolutely had a fantastic time. And you said that you're a deal hunter, and let me tell you, like, I can't speak highly enough. Like, to be able to find the best options for us and to be able to afford to take all of us, and it was really a blessing, and I can't thank you enough. It's something that they will never forget, something that I'll never forget, of us all being able to be together. And one of the best trips that I think that I've had, even though, like, I love to go on cruises, but just having us all there holiday time and the experience that they had, because they had never done it before. So
Yes. Well, one of the best Christmas gifts is vacation, travel. I started doing that many years ago. We have 5 kids all together.
mhm.
And one year I was trying to figure out what am I going to get them for Christmas this year. Tried to think back on what I got them last year. Couldn't remember. And I thought, you know what? I bet they don't remember either.
Yeah.
Let's go on a cruise. And I tell you what, they did not forget that. They
Yeah.
still talk about those cruises, those vacations. And, it teaches them about different cultures, different economic situations that they may not see here in the US.
Right.
And, one thing that we always did is we made sure that we had dinner in the dining room at the formal dinner
Yeah.
so that they knew which fork to use, how to speak to a server, all those social graces that, get them a long way in this world now. But they always talk about those vacations. And you have to do it while they're young, because once they're off on their own, it's hard to get them all together and get a good schedule.
My oldest was in college, and during that time was pretty much where they're doing their finals
Hmm.
right before vacation. And I'm like, we're supposed to leave on the
Yeah,
day that you have a final,
right.
and just getting her to be able to come, when they're older, and in situations like that, it was difficult. Like, it gave her a little trouble, but it ended up
Mhm.
working out. And I felt bad, like putting her in that position to have to go to that professor and say, my mom said that I have to go on this trip.
Right. But a lot of people want to plan between Christmas and New Year's because all the kids are out of school then.
That's when
But
everybody.
the prices are double, triple what they would be in the second couple of weeks of December.
Yeah.
So if you can make it work, it's much more affordable.
Yeah.
And there's very little left. That week between Christmas and New Year's is the most popular travel week of the year. Not only are the prices high, but they sell out early.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you sometimes, like, I don't know, for like flights and trips or like last minute bookings, do you find that there's a lot of opportunity for, like, okay, they're trying to fill up a cruise ship and they give like last minute deals, or how does that look? What do you do for that?
That's a very good question. That has changed since COVID.
Oh,
It used to be I would book those last minute deals for myself. But since COVID, travel is up so much. There are twice the travelers ever on record this year.
mm,
So the ships are selling out. And as they sell out, the prices go up on what's left.
mm.
So it's the opposite of what it was before.
Well, darn.
So it's key to plan early now. And something else that I want to mention is with cruise planners, we're the largest cruise agency in the world. So we get to negotiate rates with the cruise lines.
Mhm.
But they only allow us a certain number of cabins in different categories that we can have at that discount rate. And of course, those sell out first.
Sure.
So, and those are better deals than I can get for last minute cruises, even if there are any left.
Right.
So it's best to book early to get those better deals.
Yeah. I think Kayla and I have a similar trip. We're not going at the same time, but we're going on the same boat.
Mhm.
The new icon of the seas.
Yes.
It's called Icon of the Seas. I'm super excited about it. And I just reminded myself I have to go in and I have to make my payment, so I don't have to pay for it later on.
Right.
I should probably do that too, because I'm like, when are they going to ask me for my payment? Because I haven't paid anything else, and it's actually coming up soon, the end of January. We're going on the inaugural cruise, actually.
That's so awesome.
So I'm excited. I actually only went on my first cruise this year, and it was with Royal Caribbean. I think I did like Liberty of the Seas or something. I'm not sure, but I think that the ship, the Icon's like triple that size or something.
Oh, it's incredible. I'm going in March on Icon. It is incredible. I mean, that compared to the other ships, it's just night and day.
Yeah.
It's like its own little world, it looks like.
Oh, it is, with different neighborhoods.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And that's something that's very helpful. You see these ships in the ads and the marketing campaigns. Those are the newest, nicest ships with all the bells and whistles. Well, when you go online and you see low pricing on a cruise, that's possibly on one of their oldest ships. And that's in a completely different category to one of the newer ships. I always say it's like a car brand. You've got Chevrolet. You can have the Chevy Chevette back from the 80s, or you can have the Chevy Corvette. Which do you want?
Right.
Yes, you're going to pay a little more to have the bigger, newer ship. But, depending on your circumstance, and if you have a family, those are the things that those kids are just going to love, and for the adults as well. Royal Caribbean is a great fit for all ages.
Yeah. And I almost felt like there was, not that there wasn't not enough to do, but I felt like, we were looking for more things like for us to do that we were interested in. There was obviously a lot of stuff going on the ship and everything, but we're definitely excited to have just more options of like restaurants and places to go. And this ship has more than one pool, and so there was like, it kind of, there's a lot more people on it, of course, but like it kind of spreads people out, I think, a little bit more.
It does. You think about all the number of the people on that ship, but the ship is so much bigger that many times it's less crowded than the smaller ships. There's just more space per person, so it doesn't feel crowded.
Yeah.
It was funny. The one that we went on in December was a small ship. It was only I think a 3 or 4 day, I forget now, cruise. And my in-laws, since they had never been on one, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's so big." I'm thinking to myself, "This is tiny."
I know. They have no
I
idea.
don't know what they would do. I'd never see them.
Yeah. Yeah, our youngest, when we were going to take them on their first cruise, the youngest asked if he could bring his fishing pole
Oh,
because he wanted to
off
fish
the
from
back
the
of the
back of
boat.
the ship. It's like, you have no idea how big the ship was.
Oh,
So
that's
when
so
he saw it, he realized, yeah, that's not a good idea.
This doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine though, fishing off the back of a cruise ship?
Yeah, I think there's a video of somebody that did that this year. They promptly got kicked off the ship.
Oh, geez,
Yeah, not a good idea.
goodness. So let's talk about some land, and things that would be interesting, or that you have available, or
Mhm.
like group trips or anything like that.
Yes, Europe has been very popular this year, and Hawaii. Those two places have been very popular. Now we've all heard about the Maui wildfires,
Right.
which displaced a lot of people,
Sure.
but the locals that depend on tourism in the other parts of the island are depending on us visiting as well. So a lot of those resorts are opening back up or are open already if they were in an area that wasn't affected. So they need us. They need us to support them with tourism. Um, and I do a lot of Hawaii travel where people will jump from island to island. They may do 2 or 3 islands. I don't suggest spending less than, say, 3 to 4 days on an island because it's just too much travel, packing up and moving to the next place. And really, it's that way anywhere. You want to have a minimum of 3 to 4 days in each place, or you'll just feel like you're just traveling and not vacationing. Um,
Right.
that's one of the common mistakes I see a lot of people do. They try to pack too much into the itinerary and they just don't get enough time to be able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like on a cruise ship, while you're sleeping, they're taking you to the next port. But when you're on land, you're having to go through that either by train or airplane, bus, whatever it might be. So that planning is essential.
So would you say that it is more, I guess, beneficial to, like, let's say if you wanted to travel to Europe and go to a couple different countries, you probably get the most bang for your buck by doing like a European cruise.
Mm-hmm.
And, like you said, that kind of takes out the whole travel by whether plane, train, or, however
Right.
it is you're getting to somewhere by going to the different ports on a cruise ship. But that can be, I know that can be a bit pricey because you have to fly over to
Mm-hmm.
Europe first.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I've heard a lot of people, you have to fly up to New York
Mm-hmm.
first
Right.
or travel maybe even to Miami. I guess it depends on like where you're going.
Right.
But it's a lot of that's really where you come into play. Like, okay, this is the flight you need to get on, and
Right.
this is how it's all going to pan out.
Absolutely. And when I'm searching for flights for clients, I see these layovers that are 40 minutes, an hour, and they're selling them. There's no way to make those connections.
Mm-hmm.
So you need 2 to 3 hours. I think 3 hours is really a sweet spot for those connections. In case your first flight is delayed, you can still make your connection. But that adds time to your travel, but it's going to be a much longer travel time if you miss your connection and have to get on another flight as well. And
That'd
there's
be
just,
less stressful.
oh, I know it is. I'd rather be sitting there relaxed than rushing through an airport or trying to get off that plane first. But there's so many details involved, to get your transportation from the airport to the hotel or resort. That's got to be arranged. Making sure that you're finding the right hotel or resort that's in a good location. If you don't, most of the time in Europe, you don't have a car, so you want to be close to the metro or the train station to be able to get around that city. There's just a lot of details that people don't necessarily think about. And you may be looking at price, but that hotel is way out by the airport, not anywhere near where you want to be. So you spend that extra money and time, for transfers, cabs, whatever it may be to get where you want to go.
And travel in Europe is very different than here in the United States. I mean, not only the obvious like wrong side of the car, wrong side of the road type of thing, but
Mhm.
5 miles can take you an hour. You're like, what is going on? Because the roads aren't straight like ours. They
Right.
like go through all the hills, and I mean
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but when you look and you see like, oh, 5 miles, it's not taking you 5 minutes to get there, or 10 minutes
Right.
even. It's just a very different experience over there as far as traveling. And if you do utilize like the trains, or I mean, most of the time you have to.
Hmm.
Even if you have a vehicle, you still end up having some sort of other means of traveling there.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
pretty interesting.
Last time I was in Europe, I swear I took every mode of transportation:
Yep.
boat, plane, taxi, train, all of it. Ferry.
Circles of death, I call them. The roundabouts.
Yes, the
They're
roundabout.
horrific. I'm like, oh my god. It's a funny story actually. We had taken Kaylee years ago now to England, and Chris was driving. He drove the first time that we had ever gone. I was like, you drive, I don't know. But anyway, point of this whole story is that my shoulders hurt. I didn't like understand. I'm like, I feel like I worked out. Well, I didn't realize how tense I was the whole entire ride, because I'm on the wrong side of the road, on the
Right.
wrong side of the car, and I'm like, and they're fast. They drive really fast,
Hmm.
and I mean, there's no side of the road. You're like driving down the road, and there's the back of somebody's house. I could stick my hand out on some of these
Yes.
country roads and touch the back of somebody's stone house. It was
Yes.
the craziest thing. So I was all tense driving around like this, and my
Yeah.
shoulders hurt like I've been working out. I'm like, oh my gosh, it was very stressful.
Yeah. I choose not to drive in other countries. If it's in the
I don't know how they
Caribbean.
do it without GPS. I have
I know.
no clue how they would do that. I guess they're so it's like they stay in their little villages, or whatever you
Hmm.
want to call it. So they don't do a whole lot of travel like we do here. Like we go to Tampa, and we go to
Right.
Spring Hill, and we go to all these different places.
Hmm.
They don't really do that. They stay in their hometowns, usually work is somewhere close at least. So they
Hmm.
don't really do a whole lot of traveling like we do here.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I drove there a few times, but I don't think I could ever do it without GPS on which
Yeah.
part of the roundabout to get off, and how long it's going to take me, and the traffic. And I was flipped off so many times.
I'm sure.
I'm
Told
like,
all
I'm
kinds of
trying.
names in
I'm
different
American. Leave me
languages.
alone.
You were trying.
I was trying. My daughter's like, oh, geez, mom, do you want me to drive? No.
She's like, you're going to get us kicked out of the country.
Great. Yeah.
Well, something in Europe that is a happy medium between a cruise ship and land travel is river cruising.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Yes. And I actually took my mother on a river cruise from Basel, Switzerland, which is near Zurich, went all the way up to Amsterdam, but we went through France and Germany.
Mhm.
And it's a totally different experience because you can be off the ship on land in a little town in less than a minute. I mean, I call it a ship. It's a boat. It's a river boat.
It's so cool.
And you have long port days, it's port intensive, so you have plenty of time to explore that little town. But those river boats go right into the small villages that you can't reach with a big ship.
Right.
So you get to see the places that are more off the beaten path. We really enjoyed that way of traveling. And, you have a dedicated cruise host that helps you with everything. It's more personalized. We only had, I think, right at 100 people on the boat,
Oh,
and it never felt crowded. And they include tours. You can choose which tours you want, however much activity you want as well. You can go hiking, biking, but you could do a walking tour as well. But I just absolutely love river cruising.
Cool. I've
Yeah.
never done that.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely different. So do
Hmm.
you sleep on the
You do.
there? Okay.
Yes. Yes. Your meals are included just like with a regular cruise. And depends on the cruise line whether drinks are included or not. But fabulous food, fabulous service, much more than even an ocean liner. The level of service, it's more one-on-one. And but we got a lot more time in port that way because we were right there. Where with cruise ships like Rome, the port is an hour away from Rome.
Yeah.
That happens quite frequently where you have to travel into the city that you're wanting to go to, where this just brings you right into town.
It's probably easier to maneuver too because it's a smaller ship.
It is. It is. And you really have a personal guide, the whole time with those tours. So you don't have to worry about getting lost. Everything's arranged for you, everything's timed out. So it's very efficient as well. And, that's something else I want to touch on with traveling to Europe is it's essential to do tours because the cities that we enjoyed the least were the ones where we didn't do a tour because we didn't know what we were looking at. We didn't know the history, what the story was behind that building or that statue. And it has so much more meaning when somebody is there that can tell you exactly what this is about and what you're looking at, exactly how old it is, which is incredible to us, Americans. Everything's so new here. So tours are essential to get the most out of the city that you're visiting.
That makes sense, especially because everything's like probably in a different language and
Mm-hmm.
just confusing.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people are concerned about traveling to Europe too because of a language barrier. I never found that to be a problem. It's very common over there for them to learn English, especially the younger generations. And if they're working out in public, I didn't find anybody working in a shop or a restaurant that couldn't speak English, at least some English. I think the worst time I had was in Paris, and I was trying to find a bathroom, and they didn't know what a bathroom was. It's a toilet, which to me sounds dirty. I don't want to call it a toilet, but to them,
Yeah.
it's a toilet. But that was the only time I ever encountered an issue trying to explain what I needed. A little charades, and they figured it out.
That's so
Having
funny.
a spot on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Well, they call different things. They have different language for certain things. Mike actually took somebody out on a fishing charter, and he's from I don't know, he's British or something, but Mike was telling me something. He said calling something rubbish or whatever, and he's like, I don't know what he was talking about.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then I'm pretty sure that means trash.
Yeah.
That's their slang or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. He's like, I couldn't tell what he was saying, so I just nodded and laughed.
Yeah. I mean, there can be as much of a language barrier in England or Ireland or Scotland than there is in a foreign speaking country.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
With simple things. They do have a lot of American-ish places, for example, Subway.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter, she was ordering a sub and chicken and bacon and ranch, and they didn't know what ranch was.
Oh, yeah.
She was like, well, never mind. So then she just had this plain piece of bread with some chicken and bacon on it. I'm like, well, don't you want something else? No, I'm not saying anything else.
Probably felt really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Ranch. And they don't understand us, and we have an accent to them. You know what's hysterical is when you ask them, we can mimic them and their accent, but they can do it for us too.
Mm-hmm.
And we sound country.
Yeah.
we have this twang, and it's
Yeah.
so funny listening to what they think that, or they hear that we sound like, and then listening to them do it. You're like, nah, I don't sound like that, but we that's what we do.
Yeah. But it's much easier, to communicate than you'd ever imagine. I just
Yeah,
don't even worry about it anymore. They have translator apps. I've never had to use it.
I
I
just
think,
laugh and go to somebody else that
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I'm
I'll
crazy.
go to the next one.
Right,
Yeah.
somebody else will know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if anybody would know if it's, a difficult time or not, it would be you, since you've been to, I mean, how many countries did you say? Six,
I don't
I
know. I haven't even counted. A
Where's
bunch.
your number one? Like, it's probably hard to say number one, but like, where would you absolutely 100% go again?
You
Amazing
know,
type
the
of.
one place that I definitely wanted to go back to, and it surprised me, was Paris.
Okay.
And at first, the first time I went, I was worried that, the stereotypes of the French maybe not being friendly.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't find that at all, especially in Paris. And it's just such a beautiful city. I wanted to go back, so I was able to go back about 2 years ago, and it's just amazing. It's
Yeah.
incredible. But another one of my favorites is Barcelona.
Okay.
It's just an amazing town. Love that town. Now, their hours are different than ours, that's for sure. We got in about 10 a.m. and I went to a Starbucks on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and it was empty. And I'm like, what is going on here? Well, at 4 a.m., they're still up partying. They were in bed at 10 a.m.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a fun town, and it's also a port city, a very popular port city, so you can take a lot of cruises out of there, but I highly suggest adding some time in that city, if you're leaving or returning to there. It's a beautiful city.
Cool.
Well, that's pretty cool too. When you think about it, when you do a cruise like that, like you just said, you can add, like you can go early, or you
Mhm.
can, stay after when you return.
Right.
Um, I
Well,
think,
I always suggest going in early because of flights too.
right.
I had some travelers this year that were flying into Rome and they were going to spend 2 days in Rome prior to the cruise. They had so many flight delays and cancellations, it ate up that entire 2 days and they barely made the ship.
Oh my gosh.
So it's essential to go in 2 days early. So if you have that time in one of those cities, make plans in that city to really enjoy it.
Even if it's home, I found that when we were going, we've been to multiple ports, but like even around the areas that you're used to, Tampa or Orlando
Mhm.
or wherever, if you just go the day before, like if you have an early board or whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it, if you go the day before and just kind of explore what's there,
Right.
sometimes you're shocked of like what's in your own backyard,
Oh,
because
I know.
we're so used to going to wherever we're going in Tampa. We don't really go into that area where all the people that are traveling and experiencing that part of the town. So take
Yeah,
a
act
minute just
act
to
like a tourist in your own town.
see what's there. I think it's cool.
Mhm.
That was one thing, that there was not one thing that I felt unplanned about, especially when I booked with you, all the emails and the updates and all my crazy questions of, because it had been a while since I had been on a cruise, and I was trying to relay information to my in-laws and get them registered and downloading apps and stuff that they're just not used to doing.
Mhm.
But like you answered every single one of my questions and made it easier on me, so it was easy for them as well. So I mean, just packing lists and just
Right.
stuff like that. I thought it was great, just as much communication that we received, and it was a easy, fun experience. So
Well, there's so many details that you may not even be aware of that could throw a wrench in your plans.
yeah.
I had somebody just last week, they're in Alaska right now, and they realized that their passport was, because they're leaving out of Vancouver, they have to have a passport. Their passport was in their maiden name. Well, the cruise was in their married name. It has to match.
Yeah.
So I was able to change the cruise to their maiden name. They're cruising on that. When they get home, they're going to update that passport. But they would have flown to Vancouver and not been able to get on that ship because the passport didn't match who was sailing.
I'm laughing because as hard as I tried to make sure that everything was good, my in-laws didn't need a passport. We all had passports because we had traveled to Europe. But anyway, we get to where we're checking in, and I had asked my mother-in-law, I don't know how many times, your birth certificate has like the raised seal, and like I highlighted it in the email,
Right.
like conversations about it. Well, we get to check in, and she pulls out this plastic. She's gonna kill me if she sees this. She pulls out this plastic bag with her birth certificate in there, and it looked like, I am not kidding you, like somebody dipped it in like tea water. Like,
Oh no.
ancient years ago. I'm like, is that like your original birth certificate? You've kept it for 70 years.
Yeah.
And it really was. There was no raised seal, but when she was born, she brings out this piece of paper. Thank God she had other paperwork that was in this plastic bag.
Right.
But they're like, they had people come in from behind the desk, and Chris and we're behind everybody. Chris and I are looking at each other like, what are we going to do?
Hearts pounding.
Get on this ship. He was like, I guess they're staying here. I said, I cannot get on this ship and be like, sorry.
Yeah.
Don't you
Bye.
too. But she had some other document that they finally let her on. She had trouble getting off of the ship after we got back because of her bag full
Oh
of
my gosh.
old
Yes.
documents. So
Yes.
that raised seal, let me tell you, is pretty important.
Well, well before I became a travel agent, I had a vacation in the Dominican with another couple. We were going for a week, and I had my passport card. I thought, this is so much handier. I can put it in my wallet. It's so easy. We drive to Orlando Airport because that's where we're flying out of. And they said, you can't fly on the passport card. I'm like, what?
Why?
You can't fly on a passport card. You can use it for a ship, for sea or land travel if you're crossing the border, but you can't fly with it. Oh my gosh, I was sick. So I knew I had my old passport at home. I had my father-in-law dig it out of our file cabinet, drive it to Orlando, and showed them that. They let me get to the Dominican on that expired passport, but every checkpoint I was worried they were going to catch that this was expired. They didn't.
Gosh.
Coming home was much harder.
Yeah,
that's
the craziest thing.
I know.
Get back.
Yeah,
was
getting
harder.
back was much harder.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's little things like that.
Well, she's got to live there because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, well, it's little details like that because, you don't travel every day or plan travel every day. You don't know all those details, so leave it to a professional. I mean, you can cut your own hair, but do you do it? No, you leave it up to the professional.
We don't do a TikTok trend and twist it and cut it. No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not doing it. Not doing it.
Nope. No.
So
I send out all those reminders, everything that needs to be done.
There's important information in there.
Yes. And if I don't hear from you, I'm texting you, I'm calling you, I will get a hold of you. I had to get a hold of somebody 2 days ago, and I sent a Facebook message, a text, and an email.
Your communication is top notch. I cannot say enough. Like, really, like it made everything smooth and easy, and we knew what to do, where to go, and it was fantastic. Because I'm in charge of all of them people. Right. I think I am, but to get them all together and to make sure everybody has the right stuff, and then the first thing, people are coming behind the desk. I'm like, oh, I failed.
Well, there's so many times that people have gotten lucky because they don't realize what could have happened. Mm-hmm. I had clients flying to Hawaii, and I enter the flights in my system, and I'm alerted if they have a delay, a cancellation. I most of the time will know before they do. So I can contact them and let them know, go up to the counter, get rebooked, do what you need to do before it's even been announced.
Awesome.
But I had a family flying to Hawaii. They were flying all day with 2 kids, and I saw that their flight was delayed for a couple of hours, and they weren't going to be getting in until about 11 o'clock at night when they were going to be getting in much earlier. And so I called the hotel without them even knowing I did, to let them know, yes, they are coming. They're arriving late with flight delays, because the hotel is not required to hold that room. After 6 p.m., it's up for grabs.
Yeah.
So they got into the hotel. They had no idea that that needed to be done.
Right.
I wouldn't think of doing that.
No.
We don't travel often. I think the United States is a little bit different because we kind of, pay for at least that first night or whatever, like in advance. But there's a lot of places where if you're not there when you're supposed to be there,
Right.
for your luck.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll sell it to someone else because they figure you're a no-show, and they'll what we call walk you to a different hotel.
Right.
Or you just have to find your own.
Right.
Because they're overbooked. And,
Wow.
Speaking of overbooking, that is another detail that I make sure of, is that people check in for their flights early.
What's
As
the deal with
early
that? I don't understand that. Like,
Well,
how they
check in
oversell
as
their
early as you can within that, say, 24-hour window.
Yeah.
Because many flights are overbooked. And if you're one of the last ones to check in, then you're most likely to get bumped.
Right.
It's just all those little details that when you travel infrequently, you just don't know,
Right.
How it works on the back end.
It's so silly though. Like, there's only so many seats on a plane.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
why are we selling 10 more?
Exactly.
We're going to ride on the roof, hang
Yeah.
on to the wing.
Yeah.
So,
Wing.
yeah, right. Here we go. So, if they want to get a hold of you, I think that we have most of your information across the bottom here, but what's the most convenient way for somebody to get in contact with you and discuss some coming up travel?
You can call me. I check my email constantly. I'm always on top of it. I respond very quickly. So you won't have a problem reaching me. I'm also available for my traveling clients 24/7. So if, even if I'm not in my office, I'm still available. If you have a travel emergency, 24/7, I'm available for you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you very much, Missy. And now you got my mind turning.
I know.
I might have to go on a little trip.
And, one thing we didn't mention, and I think it's the biggest misconception, is that you have to pay for a travel advisor.
No.
My services are free. The cruise line, the resort, the airline, whatever, they pay me to handle your booking. It costs you nothing. And I'm also able to guide you in the right direction, which resort is best. If you call that resort, of course, they're the best, but I can give you an objective review of what might be best for you and your family.
Sure.
So, and it costs you nothing, and I will find the deals for you, so I can save you money as well.
I'm a deal hunter, and what you had found for me multiple times has definitely been better. And
yeah,
I don't
that's
even
fun
look
for
anymore.
me.
I just call Missy. She'll give me what I need.
I'll find you the deal.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
Anything?
thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.